Welcome back to Travsessed Tuesdays. You know what that means. It is the Hot Tip Tuesday.
Traveler Hot Tip Tuesday.
Okay, we're still playing with the name. We are Kim and Aaron. We are your hosts, and we have been travelers for the last 10 years and the creators of Travsessed. Travsessed provides on-the-clock, off-the-clock resources for travelers. Off the clock being our Travsessed Adventures. We are live from Peru right now, and on the clock being our online course, Travelers School, along with our podcast and other cool things that we have available for travelers.
I feel like we have a lot of cool things for travelers.
Flight crew, please prepare for departure.
Okay, so this Hot Tip Tuesday
Traveler
Quickfire, you just call it what you want, but this is the place where we answer the questions from our Facebook group. That way you can get a Hot Tip Tuesday for your commute or wherever and learn about the travel healthcare industry.
Well, and again, I just wanted to reiterate too that, we have a huge Facebook group. There's like 9,000 people in it or something now. And, when it began, it was small. And Aaron and I were in there and we were answering questions all the time. We were going live and there was people were asking us questions and it was very, intimate. I felt like we were able to really share a lot of information. And now that it's gotten so much bigger, we're not able to answer every single question. And then people are asking questions and people are giving answers that aren't really correct or that, are maybe not the best information. And so we wanted to use this as a way, because Aaron and I are experts in this industry. We've been traveling for 10 years, but we've learned from experts. We've made our own mistakes and we really know this industry well. And so we wanted to have a place that we could answer questions and give the correct information that when people listen to it, they're like, cool, I got this, and it's trustworthy, reliable information from travelers who very much understand the industry.
Totally. So this question was a really good question that we got, and honestly, I put it in here based off of the answers because I had goosebumps from reading some of the answers. I'm like, oh dear God. So this question was, this traveler had a contract that was originally 410s at $2,200 gross per week. And then the contract was dropped for 8 hours. So there's an 8-hour difference in that weekly, and it went to $1,700, but her hourly was dropped. He or she, I don't even know who it was. He or she's hourly was dropped from $29. The taxable hourly was dropped from $29 to $21, and they didn't understand why it was so significant. And there was a lot of answers in there. It was like, your recruiter is stealing from you. I'd change companies. This is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh goodness. It just goes to show you there's a lack of understanding of how we get paid as travelers and understanding how the bill rates work. So I thought this was a really good traveler hot tip.
Yeah. I think, again, going back to how we get paid, right? It's all based on the bill rate. And the bill rate is a number that the hospital is saying we are willing to pay this traveler X amount of dollars per hour. Worked for them to come and work in our hospital, right? And that dollar, that amount is for everything. It is for the company. It is for the recruiter. It's for the taxes, for the insurance. It's for the traveler's pay. It is everything included. And it is based off the amount of hours worked. Period. End of story. Worked for the contract, right? So typically we work 40 hours a week. We multiply that by 13. That gives you the amount of hours. You multiply that by the bill rate. That gives you the pot of cash essentially that this hospital is shelving out to this company to pay for a traveler to come.
And I think what a lot of people get confused in is we get a lot of times as travelers, if the recruiter does this for you, is breaking things down, right? Housing per week, boom. Meals and incidentals per week, boom. And then here's your gross, here's your hourly, here's your callback, here's your this, here's your that. That is done from the recruiter's side of it, right? The hospital is giving a flat rate, a flat $135 an hour for Aaron to come in and work in this contract. How that is divided up is between you and your recruiter. So therefore, that is like a big understanding of you have your tax-free and your taxables. And so how you take that lump sum of money and divide that up, there's other factors based into that we won't get into. But basically, that is done from you and your recruiter's point of view. That is not like the recruiters or the company is saying to the hospital, well, you need to pay this much for housing, you need to pay this much for meals and incidentals, you need to pay this much for hourly, you need to pay this much. They're like, we're paying a flat rate, you guys figure that out.
Right. And so in this case, she dropped from 40 hours a week to 32 hours a week. Okay, well, that's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Less money to play with.
There's less money
in the pot.
You've just taken 8 hours out. So, and from what the question appeared, it wasn't that she was expecting to make the same amount of money. She understood that she was cutting hours and that she was going to make less. But it seemed like the question was, well, why is it $8 an hour? That seems pretty drastic. That seems like a lot. I mean, I'm only cutting back 8 hours. But what happened is that the recruiter decided that we'll keep the tax-free money, the housing, the per diems, the stipends at the max, right?
Which was originally lined up with the 22 gross of maxing out the stipends. This is what you were getting. And so there was money left over. So then it's like, okay, let's give you $29 an hour.
Right. And so, and for me as a traveler, I would rather have my tax-free maxed out than continue to make the same amount hourly, right? Because that's tax. So again, if the recruiter is keeping the stipends at the highest level possible, okay, well, where are we going to cut that lump of money now that you've cut your hours? Where is that going to come from? Well, that's going to come from your hourly wage, right? And so that's $8 an hour, which is pretty substantial, multiplied by however much, but that's just going to show how much they're cutting based off the hours you're cutting, essentially.
Correct. And especially at that 410, 2200 gross, if you were getting, $1,200 a week for housing and $700 for meals and incidentals, I'm just throwing numbers out there. And then you cut 8 hours, but you're still getting $1,200 for housing and $700 for meals and incidentals. And the only thing that got cut was your taxable wage. That's actually a very smart recruiter. And so I was just like, damn, like these answers are killing me, because that was really cool that they kept the tax-free the same and cut the hourly, which is what you're going to get taxed on, and technically probably be making a good amount of money that you wouldn't have been making if you didn't have it in your tax-free.
Yeah. And I think it just goes back to being your own advocate and asking these kinds of questions to your recruiter. Like, sitting down and building a relationship, it goes both ways. And hey, like, I'm kind of confused. I'm getting $8 an hour cut, and that seems like a lot. Like, I'm only missing 8 hours of work. Can you please explain to me kind of where that money is going or how it's all working? Because I feel like a lot of things that we've learned has been through sitting down and having conversations with recruiters and trying to understand what's happening, right? So
no, totally. And I think too, the question was asked, but there's this understanding of like not really understanding how we get paid as travelers and understanding how the bill rate works. And it's basically a lump sum that has to be divided into these categories. And so something's got to get cut. Mm-hmm. And so let's find the best way to cut something that still gives the traveler the benefit.
Yeah.
And that is taking less money taxable and keeping your tax free as high as possible.
Yeah.
And so if you understand that, you get that answer from your recruiter, because that was given to this traveler as an answer from the recruiter, but there was that lack of trust of like, seems shady.
Yeah. And I get that, you know, and I totally get that. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand that. That's very normal for people to feel.
Totally, 100%.
They want to make sure, hey, I'm getting paid the most, and I get it. So I think that's why we do podcasts like this and like our course Traveler School. It really goes over all the ins and outs so that you understand, so that you feel empowered to ask questions that are coming from a place of a general understanding, right? Because I think a lot of times we see in Facebook groups and stuff that people are saying things and they're just like, you can tell they have absolutely no understanding about how anything works. And it just comes across as very entitled. And it's like, you really don't get it, do you? Like, you're the worst traveler to work with ever. I feel bad for the recruiters because you clearly have no idea what you're talking about. And so that's why it's important to educate yourself as a traveler so that you're empowered and not entitled, and you know the right questions to ask. And then you can make decisions based off the answers you're getting back, but you know the right questions to ask.
Well, and on top of that, I would even just add that Traveler School and this podcast was created because the feeling that I have going in and buying a used car or a new car or whatever it is, and that feeling of like, I feel like I could have got a better deal, but I'm not sure. And did I get a good deal? And I don't know. And like that shady ass feeling that you feel, if I had to do that every single 3 months, it would really take away from the experience that you can have as a traveler. And so what we really wanted was to eliminate that fear by empowering people with the correct knowledge so that when they do have these conversations with your recruiter, you're like, okay, I understand how the bill rate works. Okay, what you're saying does add up. Okay, cool. I feel good about this contract. Let's move forward. Instead of like going every day into work like I've been taken. And then you're going to find people in the socials that are going to verify that feeling for you because they don't understand the industry. And then you just feel like every day you went in there, it's a waste and you're getting taken. And that is no way to show up for a contract. That's no way to show up for life. And if we can prevent that fear and that feeling from happening, then that's why all those were created.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds very stressful to me.
God, I can't imagine.
Live in that way. Like,
and I remember that feeling.
Yeah, same. Me too. Like we lived like that for years. So I 100% get it. 100%. But we're here if you have any questions. If you have considered taking Traveler School, our course, we're going to be doing this whole revamp soon.
It's going to be so freaking badass.
We're recording this right now in Peru. So it's kind of, we're recording from the past than when this comes out. But our plan when we get home at the end of June or end of July is we really want to revamp this course and make it more of like a mentorship program and have experts coming in and teaching workshops, and Aaron and I teaching workshops, and having it be more hands-on mentoring, kind of like a membership and a course kind of a thing. So
yeah, so you learn the logistics, and then the course gives you the logistics to be empowered and to make the most money right out of the gate. And then you have this continual community that is showing you the lifestyle of a traveler and how to maximize that and that experience in your life and what you want to create, and like bringing in other travelers, other experts, other business owners, other things like that can open your mind to new things, and just have the Travel School community just be this badass community that we go around and hang out with one another and learn from each other and just have that in common.
100%. So it's going to be amazing. Stay tuned for that. We will have more on that as we get closer. In the meantime, feel free to reach out to us at Kim and Aaron G on Instagram. It's the best way to DM us, ask us questions. And we will see you next week.
Or on Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday. And the next Tuesday for another hot tip.